Good job today, man. One at a time, and we'll get the job done. Y'all know what to say. On three. 1, 2, 3.
And the home of the Jets.
Mr. JetsCentral.
What up? What up? What's good?
Well, the Jets are good, and they're frustrating, and it's annoying, but it's interesting times where I was so excited to talk about a preseason game. Like, oh, there's so many bright spots from today's practice, but there's this lingering situation that I cannot believe that we're sitting in. So do you want to deal with the bad or the good? How do you want to, I'll let you decide tonight, man.
Let's start with the Reddick stuff first because it's the biggest storyline. And then that way, we kind of get the negative out of the way.
All right. So we've been watching this saga play out ever since the trade, and we both assumed we gave the Jets credit when they made the trade. Like, all right, they moved on from Huff. Didn't really agree with that. They got Reddick for very reasonable compensation, a 2026 draft pick. We both assumed the deal would get done, and we move on. We go to OTAs. Deal's not done. He doesn't show up. Kind of weird, but maybe this is just a little pissing contest. No big deal. Go to training camp. Still not there. First preseason game, still not there. And lo and behold, we now get a trade request. A player that the Jets inherited has not even come in the building and stepped on a practice field yet and wants to be traded. Can you believe this is it's unbelievable, dude?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to pretend that we haven't seen a holdout before, but I mean, just that it's gotten to this point, it's weird, right? Because normally whenever you have a holdout, you're talking about a player that was drafted by a team and he either, doesn't want to play under the franchise tag or he wants the contract extension or something, right? You'd have like a running back, maybe not wanting to play in that last season because in the team's eyes, it's like, all right, well, we know we're not going to pay you and we're going to, just run you into the ground. Kind of like Le'Veon Bell's last year at Pittsburgh.
Yep.
But I mean, we're seeing that right now with Brandon Ayuk. We saw it years and years ago with Jalen Ramsey where he did the hold in. I mean, Khalil Mack held out at one point. Trying to think, I think Aaron Donald had a holdout. Like, it's not anything surprising, but it is weird when it's, a brand new team that just traded for a player that wants a contract extension, and the team that's acquiring that player is not giving him the contract extension. What is weird to me is all these like conflicting reports, that just don't really make a ton of sense. Especially after literally minutes after the trade request, everybody was chiming in, oh, I'm hearing this, I'm hearing that. Yep. Diana Rossini, Adam, I think it was Ian Rappaport, Adam Schefter, Jordan Schultz has, given his 2 cents.
Josina Anderson.
Yeah, there's just so many Connor Hughes. There's so many different people just, talking about what they've heard and what they know and stuff. And then you have Reddick who, all we know is that tweet that kind of just was a direct maybe counter to Connor Hughes' first report about the whole thing back in June. So, I mean, it's such a weird situation, and we've really beaten the subject to death, but to officially get a trade request on one hand, if you put yourself in Hassan Reddick's shoes and you're like, okay, well, I'm going to the Jets, and let's just, assume the report was true about the Jets offering him a pay raise and a new deal before they pulled the trigger. As a player, I say no, and yet they still trade for me. I show up, and then there's still no extension. So it's like, okay, well, why did you trade for me? I want the contract extension. I'm putting in a trade request. But then from the team side of it, it's just like he is technically speaking under contract. So, I mean, it's just such a messy situation. I think the Jets will be fine without him, but it's still just because we'll be fine without him doesn't mean that it's a mark on Douglas's resume, in my opinion.
What? I completely disagree. I think this might be our first time we disagree.
Yeah, hit me.
So, I mean, I think right now it's a lose-lose situation. I think both sides are losing. Reddick's losing money. The Jets are losing a very good pass rusher. The more time that goes by, the more concerns you have of him learning the defense, him being in game shape, him being ready for week one, and everything else. My personal opinion is the trade thing is the only thing he has left. It's either a trade request or retire. What else? What other leverage does he have? He's already not showing up. He's already getting fined. So now he's got to try to find some other way to just cause a stir and be like, all right, I want out. But I think at the end of the day, they find a way to get him in the building. They do. And it's probably going to be right after the last preseason game, right when training camp is over and there's nothing else left to do. When they get ready for week one, he shows up like, I'm here. I would have showed up 3 weeks ago and just showed up and not did anything. But to me, you're putting the Jets pass rushing situation is Jermaine Johnson and a hopes and prayers of Will McDonald without Reddick here. And to me, it's like, I want this defense to be elite. I want it to be great. I want game wreckers. If Jermaine Johnson gets banged up, dude, you're telling me the Jets are okay with Will McDonald as your feature rusher?
Well, in that scenario where you have Jermaine Johnson getting hurt, but you can make that argument with wide receiver, right? Garrett Wilson gets hurt.
But it's like so right now it's like, to say the Jets will be okay, they will be okay. I mean, you have a lot of faith in Sal and Ulbrich scheming them up, but Reddick's a big impact on this team. He's a 3-down player, a very good pass rusher. He gives you a lot off the edge, and it takes a lot of pressure off Will McDonald, who off to a slow start, not really wants to be. But I mean, I understand both sides, but I'm not discounting with the player that he is, man. It's just, to me, it's like, if you're going to pay him, say, September 2nd, pay him today, dude, and get it over with. But the problem is now it's like nobody wants to look bad. The Jets don't want to get a deal done. Like, oh, you caved in. Like, nobody wants to be the person like, oh, I told you so. And then the media piles on and like the Jets are weak. So, like, what's the resolution? Like, how do you fix this? Because he's not getting traded. He's going to show up eventually. But to me, if you're going to pay him $14 million or whatever the amount of money you're going to pay him, I want him healthy, prepared, ready to go week one. I don't want to pay him $14 million and we got to wait 4 weeks till he gets his legs underneath him and pray he doesn't get hurt.
Yeah, dude, 100%. So what do you disagree with? The fact
you said the Jets will be fine without him. I think this defense needs him. You lost John Franklin Myers. You lost Bryce Huff. Will McDonald's got to take an enormous step forward that I'm not sure he's going to take. Where's your pass rush? Your legitimate pass rush? I understand Quinton Williams. Other than that, where's it coming from, dude? Like you want to thrive because Sal doesn't like the blitz. He likes to generate with his 4, and that's a guy that you're counting on.
Yeah, I think it's obvious that with Hassan Reddick, this Jets defense literally has the potential to be the number 1 defense of football.
Right.
I mean, you look at the talent, you look at the upside, you look at resume, so many different metrics, right? Time tested system. Jeff Ulbrich is a play caller, talent on the back. I mean, the list goes on and on. But without Hassan Reddick, I just don't really see this Jets defense going from like having top 3 potential down to like 17, 18. I think we would probably drop, but maybe down to like 6, 7, 8.
But what's the goal this year? This is an all-in year where everybody's pretty much selling their soul to make a run to the Super Bowl. You have 2 years of Rodgers. So if that's your mindset going into the season, why are we pinching pennies now? To me, I'm not saying give him $30 million a year, but I'm like, you trade him for a reason. You knew the contract demands. And this one comment here, I just do not agree with. It says it's not Jody's fault when Reddick supposedly gave his word he played this year under the current contract. Mike, with all due respect, I do not believe that because in Philadelphia, he had no guaranteed money. He wasn't happy. He's not going to say, you know what? I'm going to play with the Jets with no guaranteed money and be happy. He wanted a new contract. He wanted more guaranteed money. He wanted it reworked. So, I mean, you got something to say?
Well, yeah. So 2 points. The first, when you were talking about, I guess let's address that question. So I think if you want to pull it up quickly again.
Yes, sir.
Here, let me see. Let me click on the comments on my side. All right, cool. So I think another thing that we have to talk about, it's even if, let's just say Reddick gave his word that, he wants to, that he would play under this year.
I don't buy it.
He still denied an extension or denied a new rework deal with a pay raise. And I would assume it's not the Jets saying, okay, we're going to give you $15 million and zero guaranteed, right? Which is an obvious no. I'm assuming that the Jets probably handed him a reasonable offer if that's true. And, according to Connor Hughes, Reddick said no. And then the Jets went out and traded for him.
And with that, but then that's the red flag right off the bat. If you know he's disgruntled and you give him an offer and he says no, then why rush to trade him? Like, what?
Yeah, that should be the line of the sand.
Be like, all right, you know what? We'll come back to you in a month, see what you get elsewhere. If you want to be traded, maybe some of the teams will give you the money you want. We'll see what you get. But like, what was the rush to get him done? Was it to offset the loss of Huff? Like, what was the rush to get this done if you couldn't get a deal with? Like, you already knew then it was going to be contentious. You already knew what his contract demands were. So now you have him here. It's almost like an arrogant move by the Jets. Like, we're going to trade for you anyway. We'll get something done. And he's like, you could think that, but it's not going to happen the way you think, at least.
Well, yeah, because it just doesn't make sense. If Reddick is on a contract right now, $14.25 million, zero guaranteed.
Yep.
He wants a contract extension, right?
Yep.
And we have the report suggesting that the Jets offered him a new deal that included a pay raise.
Yep.
And Reddick said no. But then it's no, I don't want to accept the pay rate, this new rework deal. I'll just play on the deal that I'm originally on, which I'm being traded out of Philadelphia because I don't want to be on this deal with no guaranteed money. At least the whole thing is just,
it's absurd.
It's just kind of, if you put yourself in Reddick's shoes, and I think Aaron Rodgers, kind of voiced that today a little bit, right? The player has to do what's best for himself, but when he does get here, we're going to welcome him with open arms. I thought that was a perfect answer to this whole thing, right? Typical leader answer. Loved hearing it. And I thought even today too, like Robert Saleh was calm and confident in his responses when asked about the whole thing. Like,
they have to.
For sure. But you can always, we've seen guys just crumble under the pressure or say the wrong thing. We've seen Saleh say the wrong thing.
But Saleh can't say anything because he literally says, we're here to make you as much money as humanly possible. Well, guess what Reddick did? He put himself in position to get a monster contract. That's what he did. Back-to-back Pro Bowl season, crazy amount of stats, all these things. The Jets inherited it. Now he wants to get paid. So to me, the easy answer is just pay him the guaranteed money. You've got I don't want to see this play out for another 3 weeks. And we're sitting here September 1st. Well, I guess he's going to show up now. And because, Ian, we both know, dude, when guys report that late, you're always worried about injuries. Are you getting your best self? Everything else. Just win now. I want no distraction. I want the best possible team we can get now on the field, and let's roll. And I'm not sure it's going to happen now. And that bothers me because it's just you're starting to play games now in a situation you shouldn't be in a situation to begin with.
The whole thing is just kind of mind-boggling. Because to me, it's like just reading the tea leaves. The Jets don't want to invest a ton of money in the edge position, right? Because they drafted Jermaine Johnson, they drafted Michael Clemens, they drafted Will McDonald, they brought in a ton of UDFAs, right? Watts and McGregor, and signing Tat McKinley. They don't bring back Bryce Huff. They had 2 years to re-sign him. There was just no urgency there. They don't do it. They trade away John Franklin Myers. That was post Hassan Reddick trade, though. So it's, in a sense, you're trying to save money.
It was the aftermath.
Yeah, it was the aftermath. But going back to the Reddick trade, before that, they brought in Clowney for a workout.
Bingo.
And supposedly it went well. But then we get word a couple days later, Clowney signs a 2-year deal with the Carolina Panthers. So yes, Clowney's from Carolina, but I do feel as though the Jets are a better situation, right? They're in a position to, harder conference, harder division, but they are, the Jets have better playoff odds, better Super Bowl odds than the Carolina Panthers. And also too, you're going to be working with Ulbrich and Saleh, going to have a ton of talent around you as a pass rusher. Is it fair to say that the Carolina Panthers offered 2 years and maybe the Jets only offered 1? Which again lends to the idea that, hey, you know what? Maybe the Jets aren't interested in handing out an extension. We go out and we trade for a player that again wants a contract extension. That's why he's being traded, and we have yet to reach that extension, that multi-year thing. So I saw the question.
Well, hold on before we go this, we got a very important one we got to deal with. Could you give my dog a shout out? I named him Roger after Aaron Rodgers. What's up, Roger? See, we're pet friendly on this show, Ian. People don't realize that.
What kind of dog was it? Or is it?
He didn't say. we got to be. We're all about the animals on this show.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And also too, did you just get him?
Yeah, we got a lot of questions. If you're gonna post a comment, we got to learn about the dog now.
Let's see. I'm trying to scroll.
He doesn't say.
Okay. But I saw a question on here just a second ago, trying to find it. It was basically like, okay, well, what would we do? What would we
That's
pay?
That's from your friend Elmo.
Was it? Yeah, I'm so far behind here. Yeah. So what would you give them?
I mean, that's the thing. Now it's like what the market is for him. He's a free agent. You know what he wants, but it's like, to me, it's just that it's going to be a crazy amount of guaranteed money. For me, I don't mind the 2-year deal. I don't mind because I'm in that Aaron Rodgers window. 2 years, it's fine because after 2 years from now, probably half these guys are going to be gone anyway, and we're going to need a new quarterback, and you got to worry about Brees and everything like that. The one problem you're going to have is if you do that and you give them this money, DJ Reed, Michael Carter, Conklin will be like, bro, you can take care of us too? You took care of a guy that's not even been part of our organization before that's holding out. Meanwhile, we've been here, been good teammates, part of this whole rebuild, and we want our money too. So it's a fine line. It's like, I don't know how the Jets walk that. I mean, is that a concern for you?
What? How it kind of
if you figure DJ Reed's in the last year's contract, just as an example, I don't know this to be fact. You figure at some point his agent probably reached out, like, listen, I'm playing at a very good level. I kind of want to stay here. Let's talk about a restructure. Okay. Mm-hmm. So meanwhile, while they're having that conversation, you traded for a player that's 1 year left, and then you give him a restructure and give more money. Does that kind of ruffle the locker room a little bit? Like, hey, you took care of a guy that's not even part of our organization right now. What about us? Is that a bad look for Joe Douglas?
I don't think so, because, again, when the trade initially went down, the expectation was that he was going to get the extension anyway. Right. So I think that was just the natural way of thinking for DJ Reed, his agent, Conklin, Michael Carter, all these guys on 1-year deals. It's just, okay, wow, the Jets, they pulled the trigger, they traded that conditional pick, they acquired him. He wants an extension. They're probably going to give it to him, because why would you trade for a guy if you don't plan on giving him the extension? But look, you can make this argument for so many guys out there. Like, would Ayuk get traded to a team if they weren't willing to fork over the multi years or whatever it may be? Would T. Higgins do that? Probably not.
So how do you resolve it then? What's your resolution to this, and when do you do it?
Well, I think kind of step zero or the prerequisite would be, if you're Joe Douglas, you have to ask the question: do we actually want to re-sign Reddick? Mm-hmm. If the answer is no, then why are we in this predicament, right? We shouldn't have traded for him in the first place. But if the answer is yes, and you got to think that question was in the minds of the Jets front office when they acquired him, it's like, yeah, we want to get something done. What I personally would do is I would say, okay, Reddick, we're going to fully guarantee your $14.25 million this season. We're going to max that out, fully guaranteed. And then we're going to tack on his incentives up to 25 mil, hitting specific sack numbers, because at that point, Reddick would say, okay, sweet, I get guaranteed money. So I can show up to camp, I can stop getting fined, and I get guaranteed money. So in the event that I do get hurt or something happens, I at least get something.
Yep.
Number two, now I have an incentive to show up and get better, and not just, I don't want to use the word slack off, but kick your feet up and say, hey, you know what? I got a 30 mil guarantee no matter what.
Yep.
And that's going to be it. If now I have a lot of, and it could only be like one incentive or two incentives, but maybe a massive pay jump, right? You could say like, okay, you can get a 4 or 5 million jump if you hit 9.5 sacks.
Yep.
But then you can get another 5 or something, another 6 if you get up to 14.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Now if you're Reddick, you're like, oh shoot, I got to get to camp. I don't want to be fined. I got guaranteed money. I got to make sure I'm ready to go for the start of the season. As far as, adding extra years onto the deal, I don't know if Reddick wants to even be, involved with this team beyond the season at this point in time. Because for
Money
me,
cures all, man. Money cures all. If they open the bank for him, like you said, like if you say you get incentives at 10 sacks, you get a big bonus at 15 sacks, they make the playoffs, another bonus. If he racks all that up and then you give him like a good, solid, same kind of deal next year, he may be okay with that, man. Like that's all he really wants.
yeah, but if that was the case, where the Jets would, open up the checkbook, it would have already been done by now.
But did they open the checkbook though?
Say it again.
Did they open the checkbook? We don't know what they all. That's something we don't know. Like sooner or later, his side's going to come out where like the numbers are going to start coming out. It's going to get uglier, I would assume, where you're going to hear more about what the Jets actually offered as opposed to what's being reported. Because right now, it's pretty much the Jets are controlling the narrative.
Yeah, so I'm reading this comment here from professionally certified hater. Trying to make one of the most consistent pass rushers on a prove it deal. It's interesting, right? Because you just don't really see this happening with other football teams, and all we can even talk about other sports too.
Yep.
The only time you're ever seeing a player getting like dealt who's really, really good and an extension isn't really, being thrown out is if I guess maybe it happens probably the most in baseball, I would assume, where like you're a fringe playoff team, fringe wildcard team,
Yep.
and you're like, you know what, we really need a starting pitcher. This guy's on an expiring contract. He's not going to cost a ton of prospects. Let's just go acquire him. He's going to pitch for, this half season for us. And then in his mind, it's like, okay, I gotta, in the pitcher's mind, it's like, all right, I gotta buckle down. We're going on a playoff push and I'm in a contract year. And then at the end of the season, sometimes they part ways, sometimes they, end up with an extension. But, I can't really think of a time where, I guess maybe in football, you would see something like that at the trade deadline, right? Where, you're acquiring a player to try to help boost the team to the playoffs, but not if it's in the offseason, like pre-draft, after you just lost your best pass rusher on the team. That's totally calculated. That's not a panic decision. There were tons, man. We went over the list. I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Tons of available free agents at the pass rusher position. Then you throw on top of it that Ulbrich and Salah seem to, think about all the times that you've seen Eric Watt's name pop up in training camp updates, or Tack McKinley, or McGregor. Unfortunately, the only one that we don't really hear a ton about is Will McDonald. But I thought, I still look at Will McDonald as a guy who has a lot of potential. Maybe,
but see, to me, it's like if the Jets truly believed in Will McDonald as much as they said they did, you wouldn't be making this trade for Reddick, right? Because you said, all right, we saw enough in his rookie year to say he's going to bounce, get even better. He's going to get Jermaine Johnson's step year 2. As of today, he hasn't taken that step yet. And the wonder that the thing you worry about is last year, you kind of catch people by surprise with his spin moves, athleticism. Now you have an NFL offseason where defensive or offensive coordinators can diagnose his game. Like, all right, I know what he can do now. So now offensive tackles like, all right, I can grab him here. This is his move. So he's got to develop his game and get better. While he's doing that, is he getting pressure on the quarterback? And that's the problem. So I don't know. Like, to me, everybody's saying, hey, you know what? Don't worry about it. We have Will McDonald. Well, I am worried about it because I think there's going to be a lot of pressure on the performer if Reddick's not here. So I'd rather just get it done, dude. Just get it. He's here, figure it out, because this is your window. This is your window to win. And he's now it's just like, use that piece to make it better and don't wait 3 more weeks to do it.
Yeah. Another thing too, that, you kind of alluded to at the start, which I wanted to touch on. If, as far as Reddick's contract demands are concerned, right? If he truly values himself, let's just say it's $30 million a year, right? Just some top tier. And it's not to say that Reddick is, should like Reddick deserves to be paid based off of his production, right? But I'll say this, man. Like, if Reddick just hypothetically said, you know what, no, I don't want your contract extension, Jets. I want 29 mil. I want 30. I want 31. Some, insanely high number. Why would the Jets still go out and make that move?
That's the whole question.
You know what I mean? And because did Joe Douglas really get the response of, Reddick's camp just saying no? Or was it, no, it's, that's a little low, or this is what we're shooting for. Can we get to this specific number? Or was it just no? You would assume the Jets got some sort of update. And also too, man, another thing, look at the top 15 highest paid pass rushers in football.
Yeah.
Reddick is not on that list.
Mm-mm.
I don't think Bryce Huff is on that list. I think Bryce Huff is maybe 15, maybe 15.
Yeah.
So it's not like they let me and my brother were talking about it last night. It's not like they let Bryce Huff go and he signed this, $120 million pass rushing Brian Burns style of contract. Okay, then it's understandable. Like, hey, if you don't want to invest that much, all right, I don't want to blame him. But if Bryce Huff signed under 60, I believe. I could probably pull up the exact contract numbers, but and actually, you know what? Let me scratch out. I'll just pull up the entire list of top end pass rushers.
What's up, Jake? Thank you, man. Jake's been doing all kinds of crazy streams. He's got a party coming up. This guy's making all kinds of moves. Thank you, Jake. you could just see like the sarcasm and the frustration coming out of Jet fans slowly but surely. I'm really happy we gave JFM for a future XFL punter. Oh man, it's just
dude, because that was a 2026 sixth rounder,
and then he restructured to a very reasonable contract too, which was kind of surprising.
And then, dude, he tweets that he didn't get anything close.
Yep.
To that offer, which was I felt kind of strange.
It's bizarre. This whole situation is bizarre. JFM's bizarre. Huff's bizarre. This Reddick trade is bizarre. It just doesn't. Yes, we'll be going on to the preseason game in about 3 minutes. We just want to just cover this last little base, and we'll go over a lot of really good things the Jets showed on Saturday and today. What'd you find out?
All right, here's where things stand. Take a guess on where. First off, take a guess on where Bryce Huff is at right now after the Philly deal on an annual pay rate.
20th.
Where is ranking?
20th.
19th. At 17.3. Where's Hassan Reddick at?
He's lower. He's probably he's got to be like what, 25? He's got to be lower than that.
So Hassan Reddick is at 23. 23 at 14.25 mil.
And he's far more established than Huff is.
Both guys, I think, are, obviously really, really good. But I think the first point is, the Jets, look, if the Jets, it just doesn't make any sense on why we just didn't re-sign Huff if we're going to be giving Hassan Reddick a ton of money. I don't think the Jets will be giving Hassan Reddick a ton of money. Again, it's like almost every justification in your mind you're trying to make for it, there's some sort of like trap door that, pops open and it's just like, oh, no, this happened.
So here's a question for you, though. Where would he be at 20 million per? He'd probably climb the ladder a little bit. He would be 14.
He'd be tied for 14th with Von Miller.
And he probably wants to be top 10. What's top 10? What's number 10 at?
10 is 22, Bradley Chubb.
That's probably where he wants to be.
Which is not crazy, man. I mean, listen to the top 10. Like, there's some stud pass rushers. But we got Bradley Chubb at spot number 10. I would say, I mean, I don't actually, never mind. I don't want to dive into the game of who you would rather take just because I don't want to factor in age and injury and stuff.
There's a lot of things going on. Yep.
Yeah. So, okay, let me rewind a little bit. So 11 is Leonard Williams with the Seattle Seahawks at 21.5, 10 is Bradley Chubb at 22, 9 Max Crosby, 23.5, Rashawn Gary at 24, Daniil Hunter at 24.5, Montez Sweat, 24.5, Myles Garrett. The top 5 is the top 5. Josh Allen is actually number 2 at 28.25. So even if Hassan Reddick came in and said, I want 30, he's literally, that would be second in football.
You can't give him Bosa money, man. That means not that player. I mean, but that's like that 22, 23, 24 makes sense. That's literally where his market is right now.
Yeah, dude. So if you're Joe Douglas, man, and you want to say, okay, you know what, we'll give you the 14 mil guaranteed, which again, that to me, that's such a steal. $14 million for one of the best pass rushers in football. So you get that fully guaranteed, and then we're going to give you incentives. Let's just call it up to 24.
Bingo.
So that's going to put you right at tied for 6th and 7th, or actually right below 6 and 7. It's going to put you between 8 and 7. Like that's, and then say, you know what, screw it. Instead of 24, let's just bump it up to 25. You're talking 5th highest paid pass rusher in football in incentives. I mean, would Reddick say no to that? Maybe, but I don't know. It's tough.
Well, then he'd be betting on himself a little bit because he knows if he gets those numbers as a free agent next year, he's gonna have a monster. I mean, he'll be 30, but you know,
Yeah, but I mean, how old are like I feel like some of these guys on this list are
younger.
kind of up there in age. Let me see.
See, the whole goal is just the guaranteed money and then the incentives. So they get the guaranteed money, and that's another factor of this too. Is like I saw Josina Anderson kind of mention that too in her tweet yesterday about will Woody Johnson actually open up the bank account to pay this guy too? So it's.
I mean,
tough,
yeah, dude, Daniil Hunter's a freak, but he's 29 years old.
Yeah, so it's
so. I mean, some of these guys are younger, but like Leonard Williams, man, like Trey Hendrickson, Von Miller, Khalil Mack.
Well, Von Miller's way past his prime.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm trying to find guys that are like not fresh off the rookie deals, like Brian Burns. There are older guys on this list. But yeah, dude, I mean, there's got to be some sort of solution here coming in the. I would hope for the near future, but I don't know. We'll see.
So what we can do is we can turn the page on this. I'm sure the chat's getting tired of us. I think last week we was pretty much dominated. We had our first preseason game, and Tyrod Taylor get a couple series, not really a lot there. I will say this now. I was more impressed by Peasley than I was of all the Jets quarterbacks last year, minus Aaron Rodgers. Like the Jets quarterbacks, like Martinez and Peasley, they looked comfortable. They looked athletic. They threw the ball downfield. It was fun watching we're watching an offense now. Like, the Tim Boyle days are gone. And these are rookies, dude. Their first foray into the NFL, super encouraging, man. Like, I was excited to watch it. I'm like, all right, this quarterback room, obviously, they're learning from Aaron Rodgers and Tyrod Taylor. That helps a tremendous amount. But, dude, that was an excellent start for these young kids.
Dude, 100%, man. And it's like, yeah, and look, I understand it's preseason. They're going up against backups, but still to see two young quarterbacks perform like that, manage the game, not look like a deer in headlights. They look calm. They look collected. They took care of the ball. They weren't making rash or horrible decisions, chucking the ball into double coverage. Dude, at times, Martinez, man, he made some like elite level throws, falling away, dropping it in the bucket.
On the run,
dude,
he throws a strike.
Yeah, bro. And undrafted free agent rookies, man, these guys look calm and comfortable back there. That's huge. Like it's night and day compared to last season. And then keep in mind, man, we still have Jordan Travis, who, we're not going to see. But, I mean, bro, Rodgers, Tyrod, Jordan Travis, Martinez, and Peasley, compared to what we had a year ago, night and day.
But they look so comfortable. There was no yips. There's no errant throws into the stands or the sideline or like a ball thrown. You're like, what the hell was that? Like, dude, I was like, this is nice. And again, sitting behind Tyrod and Aaron Rodgers has to be a blessing because you're learning so much so quickly. But the offense looks smooth. Again, it's all vanilla. You're not seeing a lot, but first impression was great. Going to the running backs, man, I was dying to see Braylon Allen. And when you saw these young running backs in action, you're like, the potential of this offense is ridiculous behind Breece Hall because Braylon Allen he's a guy who can get you to short yardage, goal line, all that stuff. He could wear out a defense in the fourth quarter. He can just wear out a defense. But for his size, he's elusive. He's he's fast, he's elusive. Braylon Allen's he's better than I thought he was, especially he can block and catch the ball in the backfield.
Yeah, dude. I mean, Braylon Allen was totally impressive. The one that I was actually surprised with, like the one that, personally, I thought, I'm like, whoa, this guy's a lot better than kind of, again, what I expect him. Isaiah Davis.
Yeah.
Maybe not so much in the running game, but just like with the football in his hands, catching a screen pass and just kind of moving upfield. He gets up he moves up the field like north and south really, really quickly.
Yep.
I was not expecting him to have like that type of burst, like that acceleration with the football. But dude, going back to Braylon Allen, man, he looked like a bowling ball, just always falling forward, not getting knocked back on initial contact. At times, I think I counted 2 plays where it took 2 guys to bring him down an open field, which is awesome. And you take that and you match that with what we've been hearing from training camp, which is he's been looking, great, obviously running the football, but as a pass protector, as a pass catcher, factor in he's 20 years old on his rookie deal, first year of his rookie deal, so extremely cheap, can be the RB2, the third down back, somebody to take pressure off of Breece Hall, so it's not like, all right, Braylon, we're going to run you into the ground this season. 30 carries a game. No, not in the slightest, man. the Jets are in great hands.
Yeah, and Isaiah Davis, he caught that one pass out of backfield. His hands look so smooth. And I was like, that's exactly what you want, especially in this offense where it could be screens, quick passes, just get the ball, all the yak you want. It was super encouraging. Izzy was the fourth running back when he got his touchdown, but it's like you kind of see he's most likely going to be the odd man out, I think, unless God forbid an injury happens. But running backs, super encouraging. You look at the wide receivers, and you're like, all right, you figure a lot of them weren't going to play. You wanted to see what you can get out of Brownlee. Brownlee with a great touchdown catch. Brandon Smith was like, it's just like, all right, where the hell did this guy come from? Didn't know who he was. And then you saw Irv Charles had an enormous day in practice today. It's great to see all that because you have a lot of competition. You figure behind Lazard, Mike Williams, and Garrett Wilson, and Corley too.
Yeah, and I guess the status is still up in the air with Mike Williams, but it goes back to the thing that I feel like we say at every show, and every Jet fan is talking about it. If we stay healthy, if we can get healthy and stay healthy, we're going to be a force, bro.
Yep.
Defensively, offensively, I think we're going to be more than okay.
Yeah, but see, my thing was I was worried if Mike Williams wasn't going to get up to speed, which now thankfully he's already starting to practice and they're working even slowly. What else do the Jets have? Lazard's been having a great camp. It seems like he's learned his lessons and kind of motivated and kind of cleaned his act up a little bit. You have him. Corley, they can kind of work in slowly and not force him into the mix now, where it's like they can let him grow into the offense and identify what he can do, what he can't do, what he's got to work on. So there's a lot of good progress there. And if you have these other guys that are stepping up, like Gibson and Charles and Brownlee, it helps where initially we talked about this a couple weeks ago. I'm like, you know what? If you don't see what you want to see early on, go find a veteran somewhere. Go find another receiver somewhere else to bring in and get into the mix. Right now, you still have a level of comfort where you're like, all right, you know what? Going into the Panthers, joint practice and preseason game, I'm encouraged. Like you feel kind of good about the position right now.
Yeah, dude. And it's like even the one player that Garrett Wilson is Garrett Wilson, right? One of the best young players and one of the best wide receivers, period. In the game. But Mike Williams, man, I feel like the Jets haven't had a this caliber, this type of a 1-2 punch. I want to say since Decker and Marshall. Yep, Mike Williams is at one point, dude, coming out of Clemson, people were like this dude's like a number one wide receiver. You can hurt defenses down the field, deep threat, playmaker, big catch radius, tall, red zone threat. Unfortunately, he's dealt with tons and tons of injuries, but he was a top 10 pick for a reason. He was dominant at Clemson. And again, when he's been healthy on the field, he's made plays. He's a big play machine. Chargers fans, they were all over the whole Mike Williams thing. I remember when I posted the video about it, I got a few messages like, dude, you guys are going to love Mike Williams when he plays because he's just, the quarterback can just say, all right, screw it. Let me just chuck it deep. And Mike Williams is just going to come down with it somehow. So when he gets healthy, is it fair to say that he can have 1,200 receiving yards, 1,100 receiving yards? Like, would you look at me and say like, dude, you're insane? Like, probably not.
Well, and that's the whole thing where everybody's like, we got to get Davante Adams by the trade deadline. There is a world where Mike Williams could just tear it up with Garrett Wilson and have a monster year. We're not even talking about Davante Adams, the trade deadline. We've been talking about a different position altogether. Like, we don't not that you wouldn't need him, but we're set at wide receiver. We maybe need X or something else. So it's exciting. Like the young receivers emerging is really cool. And then again, they can learn from Mike Williams too. Just like the linemen are learning from Tyron Smith and Morgan Moses, you can learn from Mike Williams, which is great. Lazard, I guess, is a leader as well. But the wide receiver group is encouraging. The one position that's kind of not red flag, but a little bit frustrating is tight end, where we all love Conklin, who's poised to have an enormous year at Aaron Rodgers. He's a very good player. It's been underutilized due to bad quarterback play, but Ruckert's banged up again. And that just we love the potential of him. And it's just, but he's kind of not a make or break year, but he's got to kind of step up a little bit because he's asked to do more now and he's banged up. And behind him, there's not really a lot, man. You have Kenny Yeboah and Ferkser and Kuntz, but is a tight end position kind of getting where it's like, we may have to start looking somewhere else, or you give another couple weeks, see what happens with Ruckert?
Well, first off, I like Yeboah. We'll see if he can, maybe step up and I think if the team can't, what year is Yeboah in? 3, 4?
He's been here a while, man.
I think he came in the Zach Wilson class.
I think so.
As an undrafted free agent. So, we're talking about multiple years in the NFL. I think if the coaching staff doesn't have faith to ask, hey, can you, compete for the backup tight end spot, that would be a little concerning. But I think realistically speaking here, you're not going to go down every single position in football. We could talk about some of the best teams in football, Baltimore, Philly, who take your pick, Kansas City. and say A plus, A plus, A plus, A plus, just going right down the list.
Yep.
Like teams are going to have a weak point, and I really love Conklin. So I think maybe the only weak point at the tight end position is just the depth there. But again, it's still young players that might turn heads.
To me, it's the inexperience too. It's like it's the depth, but it's the inexperience where they haven't really accomplished that in the NFL. Not a lot of catches. You worry about pass protection, blocking, everything else. So again, not a panic, but just looking at like and Rutgers, concussion, and Salah said he had a litany of injuries. So it's like, all right, that's great. When Salah talks injuries, he's half lying to you and doesn't do whatever else. But so then you go offensive line where only Tippmann played. It's great to see Olu get so many snaps, and this is exactly what you want. He's getting just get experience. They moved him over to the right tackle spot now. What are your thoughts on that?
Not the biggest fan. I mean, I don't think it's really going to impact like have this major ripple effect. But in my opinion, it's like, okay, if Olu is built to be a left tackle, right? Body type, footwork. 2, he's always been a left tackle. 3, he was drafted to be the team's future left tackle. We're in this luxury year where, our top 11 pick doesn't have to play in year 1 because we have a fantastic veteran in front of him.
Yep.
Let's just stash him there and just kind of, have that redshirt year, unless, of course, a Tyron Smith thing happened, like an injury happens or something. But, just keep Tyron Smith there. And I understand the argument, right? Oh, it's a free year. We can get him like extra reps at right tackle and kind of get him like accelerated. But, you listen to players in the past talk about it's not just, 1, 2, 3, easy transition. Yeah. You listen to players talk about the heightened risk of injury.
Yeah.
You can point to Max Mitchell and Carter Warren bouncing back and forth between left and right tackle. But at the same time, they're not really carving out a specific role at one spot. We can talk about Mekhi Becton not really being able to transition to be a long-term, not only just long-term starter, but long-term backup option for the Jets. So, I don't want to sit here and overthink it. I don't think playing a couple days at right tackle is going to impact him all that much. But if this is going on and on like a weekly basis throughout the season, where it's maybe like 2 days at left tackle, 2 days at right tackle, I don't like to see it. Like the plan for Olu should not be the backup swing tackle. I want to have the long-term vision, and I want to say, okay, Fashanu, you're going to be the team's starting left tackle, the franchise left tackle in our minds for the next 10 years.
Yep.
We want to be 1,000% sure that you're going to be prepared and ready to play. So even though you're not getting, starting reps, we're going to throw you in as the backup left tackle, and you're going to continue to work. We don't have any plans to play you at right tackle or for you to be the starting right tackle. Mm-hmm. The only way I maybe see something like that happening is if the Jets don't bring back Tyron, they don't bring back Moses, and we sign this stud in free agency, or we trade for this amazing left tackle. Right. Kind of like how the Bengals, wound up with Orlando Brown, and they're like, I guess we'll move Jonah Williams over to right, but I don't see something like that happening.
Yeah, and to me, it's the other thing is like going into the season, in my mind, I'm expecting Tyron Smith to miss 3 or 4 games. That's my expectation, not being negative, but like based on his history, he missed 3 or 4 games. I want Olu to be the best he could possibly be when he plays those 3 or 4 games. God forbid he has to play more. I want it's just like it's almost like getting too cute. Like, oh, we can do this. Let's try this. Like, no, it's not. Like, I understand like versatility and everything like that, but you have other guys that can play right tackle on your team. You want to have your swing tackle on Carter Warren or Max Mitchell or whoever the hell it is. Make those guys it. But I just don't want to like start just messing with Olu when I think there's be times this year he's going to have to play left tackle. It's my honest opinion. So
yeah. Like, let me just throw out this. Wait. Were you finished?
No, good.
Yeah. I don't want to. I don't want to cut you off, but let's just throw out the hypothetical. Say Tyron Smith looks great. Morgan Moses looks great. It's week 4 and Moses comes out with an injury. What's your backup right tackle option? I saw
Carter Warren.
I saw Dane just ask this. Yeah, who's your ideal right tackle to them? For me, it's the winner of Carter Warren or Max Mitchell.
Yep.
I don't want to take Olu and plug him in at right tackle as a starter. That's just me though.
No,
I'm not saying he can't do it, but again, what happens if Tyron Smith goes down? Then you're taking Olu and you're plugging him back in at left tackle. I mean, there was such a big emphasis on keeping AVT in one position. And how like all the positives that coaches talked about, he's going to get so much better. He's going to refine his craft. He's going to look like a more polished player. He's going to take another step because he's in this one position. Let's not do the same thing with Olu. But again, I don't think it's going to be making Olu worse or the Jets are going to be worse off.
So now, when do you want to see the starting five play together? Do you want to see it this weekend in Carolina, the Giant game? Like, at some point, I think they have to play a preseason game, all five. Like, even if it just means 2 series lineup, get on the field, get off the field, or do you say, you know what, I'm not worried about that?
This week I'm fine not playing any of them. The Giants game, I think I would probably roll out the 4 and start Olu. I don't think it's necessary for Tyron Smith to start a preseason game.
Good point. No, I agree. I think the Giant games where I kind of want to see a lot of these guys play, where it's like just a series or 2, get out there, especially because they're all practicing together. Again, if they're all, the joint practices help a lot, but I kind of just want to see them get on the field, get off the field. So offense, we kind of covered it. Defensively, it gets interesting. The defensive line where Leonard Taylor, man, was a beast.
Yep.
He had 2 tackles for a loss, a sack. He looked physical, he looked explosive, looked aggressive. And that's the guy that we thought when the Jets got him, like, this guy's got a lot of potential if he can get some things cleaned up. He looked like a beast out there.
Dude, he made plays early on in that game, and he was super fast off the line too. Like the ball was snapped, and he was already making a move and getting through into the backfield. I felt like, bro, and your boy Tanzil Smart had a great day. Led the team in tackles with 7. Could this be the season with no JFM, no Al Woods, no
Jefferson,
Reddick, no Jefferson? Yeah. Could this be the season where Tanzil Smart cracks the roster as like a bottom D-line rotational guy? I think this is his best shot.
Yeah, and the other guy is like, I was hoping to see, because Tack McKinley's having such a great camp. You're hoping that once he got game action, especially as like an experienced veteran guy, he can make an impact. And he had the one play where he over pursued a little bit. I was hoping to see a little bit more out of him because, like, you want to see if he can make the team and what he's going to bring to the table. Was there anybody else on defensive line? Because Will McDonald like, I'm extremely critical because I'm just annoyed by this Reddick thing. Will McDonald just looked like him and Clemens just leave something to be desired sometimes. Because you figure, like, especially Clemens, who's been here a while, where you're going against second and third stringers, you want to see him kind of disrupt a lot of things. And like, what would your take from both of these guys?
Not really too worried about it. I mean, at the end of the day, think about it, right? You are a pass rusher in football. You're grading or looking at one of these pass rushers. They have 10 sacks, right? Awesome season. That's 10 snaps,
right?
10 snaps in an entire year, right? So if you have a pass rusher, plays all 17 games and gets 10 sacks at the end, that's 10 plays where he was able to get into the backfield and attack the quarterback and kill the play. Now, of course, we could talk about quarterback hits and pressures and all these different things, win rates at the line of scrimmage, but let's not get super down on Will McDonald for not getting like a sack or 2 in, what was it, like 15 or, like a quarter or 2 quarters. Like, you're not gonna, let's just throw an awesome pass rusher out there.
Let's just look at Jermaine Johnson last year. You could literally see it last year, man. The difference when he's on the field, you're like, oh, all right. Like, like Will McDonald has that little splash, like into spin move, give it to him. But like, I don't know. It's like, year 2, I expect a lot more because where he was picked, the opportunities can be given. And now it's like, he's got to keep growing. A first preseason game, a long way to go. He can learn, he can do whatever stuff. But it's like, you want to see him and Clemens take a big step, dude. You really do.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean, everybody wants to see him take a big step, but I don't want to be like, oh, I don't know, man. He didn't
give me 2 weeks.
Sack or 2 against the Washington Commanders in the first quarter. Tons of great pass rushers played last weekend. Mm-hmm. Not every one of them got sacks. Not saying Will McDonald's great right now, but
there's also no scheme either. They're not play calling. They're just going everything's like base vanilla stuff. They're not really showing any looks either. So that's another thing too.
Yeah, another thing too is oh yeah, I mean, I guess you kind of hit the nail right on the head. It's not like they're, sending. I mean, it would be one thing too if Will McDonald was getting like pancaked and just shoved backwards and just getting completely neutralized out of the play. You run his direction and he's just off near the sidelines because he's just getting pushed back by the tackle. but yeah, I mean, we'll see. Like the Jets, they obviously drafted him in the first round,
Yep.
so
So
and too.
you go from defensive line to linebacker. The two guys that stuck out to me I like Chaz Surratt. I do. The guy just can't stay healthy, but he's tenacious. He flies around, makes a lot of big impact plays, but he's always gets banged up somehow in some way. I know Salah likes him too. Then you have Barnes showed some things too, where it's like last year was kind of a lost year for him. But if you look at your backups, you got Sherwood, Barnes, and Surratt. You kind of feel okay with those guys.
Yeah, dude, 100%. I mean, I feel like the linebacking core is so deep. It's like the deepest it's been in a long, long time. Even like I think it's a Guavon, who's a former Dolphin, dude. He's fast as hell too.
He is. He was flying around too. The position that was really interesting to me was the cornerback position because Bernard Converse, who got beat early on with great coverage. I thought the coverage was awesome when he got beat. Dude, after that, he looked like a shutdown corner. He was playing like great cover defense. Like he looked really, really good for going safety to corner. Dude, he's a player coming on right now.
Yeah, dude. I mean, Stiggers made a play. Stiggers gave up one play where he slipped. So I don't want to, again, it's one play in a preseason game. I don't want to, take that one play and just say, oh, he's not going to work out. But yeah, dude. I mean, I've really felt as though the corners looked solid, especially on the outside.
Trey Swilling.
Swilling. I felt like he was, man, I still regret not talking about him in the recap video. Because there was a couple guys, like there's only so many, like when you have a game like that, you can only talk about so many guys. You can't just talk about the 25 players that, all jumped off the screen. You try to narrow it down to like who made the most impact. But speaking of that, bro, I thought Jalen Key at safety was awesome.
Yeah. Dude, he surprised me.
Yeah. He looked, like he was always around the football. He came up and made some plays in the running game. Didn't have, some crazy like pick six or anything, but he looked like the definition of like a high floor Nick Saban safety.
100%. Yeah. You always saw his name. He's always in the mix somewhere. He's always around the ball. He seemed like he had a good feel of what was going on out there. One guy I mentioned before, I like Jalen Holmes. I just do. I think I like his explosiveness. I know that last year he came on towards the end of the season, but it seems like he's a guy, probably a practice squad guy, but I think he keeps getting better. He's kind of one of those guys under Salah's defense where you could see he may find a niche on his team sooner or later.
Yeah, like there's the Jets have a lot of those types of players, like where you like them, you don't necessarily think they're going to be making the 53. Like, trying to think of some other, trying to think of like the offensive counterparts, because we could talk about like a Guavon or Tanzel Smart. I'm trying to think of like again some younger offense player. Like for years it was Jeff Smith.
Yeah, that's right.
Malik there's
Malik Taylor is a guy he's been around a while.
Yeah, Malik Taylor, Irv Charles, but he obviously cracked the roster a year ago, major contributor on special teams. But yeah, dude, I mean, I love the roster. These are like some of my favorite rosters where you have like your stars, you have your veterans, you have your glue guys, you have your young guys that kind of get you fired up from like a coaching perspective, that they're just getting better and better and better as the years go on. So
and the best thing is they're learning from some of the best players in football in front of them. You're learning from Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, Aaron Rodgers, Tyron Smith, CJ Mosley, Sauce Gardner. Like that's what it's like. The Jets have a lot of like top level talent where the guys, your standard as a corner is Sauce Gardner and DJ Reed. Like, look, talk about a standard there, man. And Michael Carter, to be honest with you, like that's how good you have to be, right? Yeah. Linebacker, CJ Mosley and Quincy Williams. Like, okay. Like, what I mean? Like you're Quincy Williams on the defensive line. Like every spot's got a guy that's like, all right, follow him and just be his shadow and learn as much as you can. And it's going to pay dividends. And that's the exciting part about this roster.
Yeah, dude. I mean, again, from top to bottom, I feel really, really good about. I love the depth that was added this season, whether it was through free agency or the draft.
And you had friggin' Zerline hit a 56-yarder. I think of that.
Yeah, yep.
So what is your take on the new kickoff? I'm curious about this.
I prefer the old one, but all I'll say is, it's going to be impactful. I feel like we talk about it a lot, but games are going to be decided by this kickoff rule. There's going to be, like I could picture myself right now, getting or watching like the halftime report and seeing, this, touchdown was botched by, or this kickoff was botched and the other team returned it back for a TD. Going with 1 second left in the second quarter. or if it's a 6-point game or 7-point game or something, and you're kicking to the Miami Dolphins, and you see Tyreek Hill back there, it's not just some free play like it's been before in the past. But I think my biggest takeaway is the starting field position is flat out it's just another offensive benefit, dude. It's another thing that it's another bone that the NFL is giving the offense. I mean, these possessions are starting consistently, and granted, we only have the one preseason game to go off of, but from the 30-yard line, 35-yard line, these are going to be short fields that offenses are going to be working with.
All right, the greatness. Thank you. Oh, this comment I can't. A-Rod retires would be ideal to draft rookie quarterback, free up more cap space, be flexible, signing all the 2022 class plus your top players to resign. Listen, man. I want A-Rod next year too, man. I want the best quarterback I could possibly have next year too. I don't want a 1-year deal and then he'd be gone.
Well, the thing is Aaron Rodgers is owed a ton of money even after he's gone.
That's true. That too.
Jets owe Rodgers money in 26 and 2027. Yeah. Let me pull up his contract real quick.
Yeah. And another thing too, I'm with sneakers and boots. I'm not worried about him retiring after this year, unless it's after the Super Bowl. He went to the Super Bowl. I'm gonna be drunk for a year anyway. I'm not gonna really care, but I mean, let's just get through the season first.
Okay, so 2020. Let's see. Okay, so next year, 2025, Rodgers has a $23.5 million cap hit. 2026, it's a void year. So the deal expires. He's still owed 21 mil. 2027, 21 mil. 2028, 14 mil. 2029, 7 mil. But those are all void years.
All right, we got a personal question for you. Ready for it?
Yeah.
Are you going to the Jacksonville game?
So I'm thinking about it, man. I have to make sure the dates work and everything is cool and stuff like that. But definitely higher chance of me going to the Jacksonville game than a game up in MetLife, unfortunately.
All right, so we covered a lot. We covered the Reddick. We covered the preseason game. Anything you're looking forward to this week with the Panthers joint practice and the preseason game? Maybe more of the starters, maybe Aaron Rodgers actually participating in the joint practice. See how that goes.
I mean, for me, it's kind of just more of the same, right? I'm hoping that Olu continues to do well. Jalen Key, right? The younger guys to keep on growing, and really, I just want I don't really have doubts about Tyron Smith or Breece Hall or Garrett Wilson or Aaron Rodgers. The stuff that gets me fired up is hearing Tony Adams had a great practice, or, oh man, the Jets really did a great job of stuffing the run, or man, the pass protection was off the hook, stuff like that. Our weaknesses, are we getting better at our weaknesses? That's kind of what, gets me, again, juiced up for the season.
Would you rather have Ayuk in the Steelers or the Niners?
I guess Niners, he's probably going to make less of an impact because he's not going to be on, an AFC team, and we have to play both teams regardless.
Yeah, that's a good question, though. That's crazy. Another guy with the contract craziness. All right. So any final thoughts, man? This hour flew by. Just so you guys know that everybody's watching, we do 7:00 every Tuesday, and we rotate channels. So this week it's our channel. Next week it's Ian's channel. 7:00 every Tuesday, going back and forth. But any final thoughts, man? Are you exhausted with the Reddick stuff?
Yeah, dude, the Reddick stuff it's just it kind of feels like it's a never-ending book. Right? There's always a next chapter, another chapter. But it's interesting because we've only heard the team side of it.
Yep.
We haven't heard an agent leak.
Oh,
to one of these reporters,
I forgot a comment. Bro, the uniforms look badass. The white uniform, the green helmet, that was you're proud to be a Jet fan that day. I'm those uniforms look like that's the way it's been looking for years.
Yeah, dude, 100%. Oh, they actually I'm sure you saw it. They re-released the ones that I kind of grew up with.
Yep.
Which I think it's week 6 against the Bills. We're going to be wearing those. And that's the one that gets me, I'm juiced for that game.
Yeah, the white ones look sharp as hell, man. That's the one. If I was going to buy a jersey, I'm buying that one. That just looks in the green helmet, the shine, just the logo. It's finally, we're getting rid of all the demons this year, Ian. Everything's changing.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Dude, I mean, imagine if news comes out Jets, whatever extent, they give Reddick a 1-year deal or they rework it, he's showing up to camp, then it's just all positive.
All positivity. Yeah, then you just hold your breath and make sure everybody stays healthy the rest of the preseason. So let's see what we got here. We got one more thing. Tyson, Iron Maiden, and who will be at Rock in Newark on November. Armand, I wish I can do that. I have 2 things on November 9th. I'm doing the Rocky Run in Philadelphia. It's like a challenge. And November 9th, I have like 5 guys fighting that night in Freehold, New Jersey. So November 9th is a wild day for me. So unfortunately, I can't make that one. But thank you guys for watching again. 7 o'clock every Tuesday, back and forth on our channels. We definitely appreciate all the support. And Ian, you can say you can end it for us, man.
Yeah, no, just I appreciate everybody hanging out. Yeah, last week it was kind of weird scheduling. We actually did it on Friday, so a couple days ago. But
I have no power.
yeah. But every Tuesday from here on out.
Thanks for joining us, guys. We'll talk to you next Tuesday.
Thanks, guys.